while. We are now embarking into November by the time you hear this recording. And wow, all I can say here is guess what? Fall is pretty much here, and we're going into the holidays. So I always feel like being your resilience bestie and serving you up self love, self healing, and growth mindset energy all day, that I want to go ahead and help some people that's going to be going through with the holidays. That can always be a hard time for people. And so with that, I had on the podcast, we did the isolation. There's power in isolation. Y'all been giving me the business on that episode. So that really touched some people there about the power of isolation and how you can embrace your dry seasons. So if this is a season you're in right now, definitely make sure you go ahead and listen to that. I'll make sure to drop it in the show notes so you can find it. I also want to talk to you about the Patreon. So the Patreon community, Patreon, we had somebody sign up, and we got a second one on the way that just told me. So by the time you hear this, I want you to understand that you're not alone. You don't have to suffer in silence. And creating community is something that God put on my spirit. But really, what I'm congratulating and celebrating with you is that we made the podcast 2 years now. We've made it to 2 years and counting. And we are in this last quarter of 2022 going into 2023. So I really want you to start now getting in a mindset, especially if you are in your dry season, of what 2023 is going to look like for you. What do you want that to look for you? And so at this point, I want you to start thinking, because we're going to start planning out, getting our vision board ready for 2023. We got to start getting you right, because you are what? A giraffe in these streets. And if you're looking for some more inspiration, and you need more community off of the podcast, come join us over at the Patreon and join the diamond tier and jump on that thing. We're going to be having coaching sessions. I got freebies already loaded for you. I have vision board stuff. It's a lot of stuff. So I'm up there getting it together. Go on and join, okay? So we'll move through that. But I just wanted to go ahead and give a little tidbit on that, because I wanted to reach out to the folks that I feel like need that, especially with it being the holiday time. And I know people really struggle with that, especially if they're in a dry season. So what we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about it is not punitive. And that's going to be from a healing perspective and a growth mindset perspective. And when I step on the scene, I have to really pray about what is God leading me to do. And this is a message for somebody that is not punitive. So what's happening is not for the wrong. So let me go ahead and start off with a little definition. Y'all know how I like to make sure that I have a little literature review. So punitive in the dictionary means inflicting or intending for punishment. So what we're saying right now is what you're going through is not intended for punishment. You had to go through it. That's where we're at with this, okay? And so what I thought is, okay, God, do you want me to serve this up? What am I serving? And so for you, that's the message. It's not punitive. And I want you to have your thought work on it. It's not punitive, because I don't want you to stay stuck in a place, because the goal is to get you to be unstuck. The goal is for you to sit in resilience. The goal is for you to say, I am moving forward. This is temporary. And I don't want you to get so consumed in the valley and not understand that your peak is coming, okay? Because it's going to be hard when you climbing the mountain. But guess what? God always sit with you in the valley, and he always be with you on the top too. But you got to understand it is not punitive, okay? So that's the word today. So what I wrote down, and we're just going to go over, and it's just a little word. I don't have too much tea for you, but I got a little something. And it's this: because it's a fall and it's a holiday time, I know people feel like it's punitive. And most of the time, from what I remember, I talk about in one of my podcast episodes, I had a gentleman, he came in during the fall, winter holidays, and he drank some caustic agent, bleach or something like that. And he did it because he wanted to die, because dealing with his dry season, if you will, was really driving him crazy mentally, and he tried to commit suicide. And so he drank this because he didn't want to live anymore. And so I feel like, because mental health is so huge and people really don't talk about it, that's why I keep saying people suffer in silence. We got to dig into it's not punitive. Okay. And I really want to get a hold of those people that's struggling. And a lot of times too, when I coaches, I tell people plan for the struggle. And the reason what I mean by plan for the struggle, because everybody know the valley gonna come back. But if you journaling your thoughts, right, journaling your journey, you know what you did last time to overcome, then when you see it coming, you already in preparation. Oh, so here's the word. You're preparing for your next level. And sometimes You have to go through series of events because the baby lion got you ready for the big lion. Okay. And so you get to a point where you realize it wasn't punitive because you needed to go through the baby lion to understand how to come to the big lion. I know sometimes in trauma healing, because I'm going to help somebody here, we stress and we worry about what's getting ready to come. And you can already put yourself through a state of trauma and stress and worry before you even hit the goal because you already are worrying about what's to come. But sometimes you go through trauma twice because you didn't even have the event yet, but you're so worried about the event before it happened. So sometimes you need to rest and be prepared because there's no need to go through the trauma twice. Just know that when it comes, you know how to deal with it. You know what you did. That's why you should journal your journey. Live in your gift. So, I always talk to you about there is, strength in adversity. And you just have to get to a place that you live in your gift and your purpose because you'll realize really what your gift is because you could do it for free. You just do it. It comes natural. God gives us all gifts that's in the Bible. We all have something that we bring to the table. And so if you are struggling, like I said, we're prepping for next year. And so I'm speaking on this because it's not punitive. Because if you in your dry season, this is time for you to prepare yourself for you coming out the mud. And to do that is you have to soul search. So what is the gift that you have? What is it? And start to dig. What is something that you love to do and it just come easy? And it could be simple. You may, like I said, I'm a nurse and I like to teach and do all those things. That comes to me naturally. I'm a healer. But I know people that do bomb nails. I know people who do good hair. I know people who clean well. Shouting out, my housekeeper, like she used to come through and do the thing. And she doing big things now. Just because she likes a tidy house. So don't think because it seems small that it can't launch you into something major. So get to a place in a space that you understand that your gift matters and live in your purpose. Because what you realize is when you live in a purpose that's not yours, like you feel unfulfilled, like, you can have all the money in the world and still be unhappy. Some of the richest people is some of the most unhappiest people because they not living in a purpose. They money driven. I want you to get to a place that you purpose driven. And the reason to understand that you purpose driven is to understand that it's not punitive of what you're going through because all you're doing right now is preparing. Faith without works is dead. You got to work for this thing. It take work. It takes strength. It take perseverance. And motivation is good, but discipline is more. And people don't understand how to be disciplined because people be like, oh, well, you like to read books and you like to do this and you like to do that. Well, I do. There's other things I would like to do. I would like to have fun and do other things. But what I started to realize is I like to persevere. I like to keep moving forward. And what I realize is to keep going, to keep digging, I have to invest back in myself. I have to invest back into what drives me, what fuels me. I have to take those moments for self-love and understand my worth and know my worth always 100. I have to understand that I am who I am and that God is who he is. Because once you know who God say about you and that God is real, it changes the whole game because your thoughts lead to actions. Okay. And so be very wise about what you think about because that may be what you start manifesting. And so if you keep saying it's punitive, then you looking for something to be inflicted upon you. But this is also a caveat too. Understand in the Bible, Psalm 91, and it talks about 1,000 may come and 10,000 at my right hand, but they won't come near my dwelling. When you know the umbrella, when you know the power of protection, I read a whole book on Psalm 91 power of protection because you got to understand what God say. And when you get in the word and you know what God say, it's just a total different way to be. I stand on Matthew 6:33. You see God through everything and you be humble, you be grateful. Because when you stay humble, it helps God to understand that you didn't do it by yourself. You did it with him. And there's power and release because remember, I talked about this whole fall season, the power of letting go, because when you're letting go, you're saying it's good for you, God, to put it in your hands. Because when it's in your hands, it's in the best hands it could be. Because if I'm holding on to it, I'm up here trying to manipulate the situation. He said, nah, give it to me. That's how you know it's not punitive. And then you start realizing it's bigger than you, because when you change you and you love you and you grow your mind, when you do that thought work and you become a better person. That's why Intentional Queen is called leveling up your IQ to a better you, leveling up your vision, leveling up your intelligence, leveling your mind to be the best you. The people around you become better because you're better, and it impacts them. So when you show up as your best self, you show up to help others by you showing that you have invested in yourself. It's hard to trust and it's hard to stand still. But I'm going to tell you, when you know it's not punitive, you have the ability to trust. And what I mean by trust is you trust the process, and that you know that it's happening for you, and you can understand how to stand still. Because there's something they also say in the financial world is there will come a point in time where you will see, when the tide comes in, who's naked and who's clothed. And what that means is when they all sitting out there in the water, you can't see nothing but the bobbleheads, right? You don't know who got bathing suits on and who don't. But when the water wash away, right, the tide comes in, then you see who had on a bathing suit and who didn't. I speak in parables. So the whole point I'm saying is, just when you look out and you be thinking things, understand when your time comes, when it comes in for you, you will know, and you will be able to discern who was naked and who wasn't. And that allows you to stand still, because when you stand still, you allow the process to happen. You allow the patience to happen. You allow what's for you to flow in. You allow what's not for you to flow out. When I say keep digging, people say, what's to keep digging? It's go deeper. Go deeper within yourself. Go deeper in what is happening, because you're almost there. That's for somebody too. You almost there. You almost there. Just keep digging just a little bit more, because you're looking for solid ground. And sometimes the flood could be all around you, and God just have you sitting on low square. You in the namaste pose. Is that even a pose? That's the tree pose. That's what it's called. You in the tree pose, just standing on a rock, watching the flood happen, because He will cocoon you in the struggle. So when you know Psalm 91 in and out, you understand the umbrella. No weapon formed against you shall prosper in the name of Jesus. No weapon. Okay. And He didn't say that it wouldn't form. He said it wouldn't prosper. There's a difference. So when you can trust and you can stand still, that's heavy. And when you know that there's no need to worry, you know what I mean? Because it's not punitive. We right back at it. It's not punitive. And another thing too is be your authentic self, because can't nobody be you. Can't nobody do it like you do it. And so when you know who you are and you know who God say you are, and you live in your purpose and you live in that space of who you were called to be, God will prepare a table right in front of your enemies, and they will watch with binoculars. And guess what? It is not for you to be concerned. You pray for them out there, because it get muddy. Now, I know this was a little bit of a deep episode, and I really didn't want to have to do it. But like I said, this is for somebody. It's not punitive. And I really want to get a hold of the people. I did a speaking engagement with some ladies, and I remember a distinct person that I ended up coaching on the spot, and it just made me think about her. And that was, she didn't want people to see what she was going through, but she was calling out for help, and she was suffering in silence. But it was something about her that, it made me come out of my shell and feel like I had to speak life into her. And what I'm telling you is, when you live in your purpose, but when people can see what was happening through you, because see, transformation is change, but it happens in motion. A change is a catalyst, means something happened. And so when we see punitive, we think punishment because something happened. But maybe the something that happened wasn't bad, it was good. So that's my message. And I want you to really think about that, journal on that, because this is for somebody. I really struggled a little bit with this episode because I didn't really know where it was going, but I've learned to be obedient. And like I said, the podcast hit 2 years, and I went back and did like an episode review to see, I got the total downloads, what the messages that resonated. And what I've learned is the ones that I struggled the most to put together were the ones that got the most listens, which means that was for somebody. I'm grateful for my new listeners. I'm grateful for my passed down people too. I appreciate everyone. And remember to level up your intentional queen to a better you. We drop an episode every other Thursday. You got other things you can get. We got the free newsletter. It comes out the last Thursday of every month. And that's going to refuel you, where I talk about mindset work, journaling, the podcast, lessons learned, all that type stuff. You'll hear more stuff about the events. I got a new community page on there that's free. And then, we got the Patreon. So I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. I hope you're doing well. Keep your head up. This for somebody. Keep your head up. And we'll see you in 2 weeks. Okay. Bye-bye.